Hey y'all, this is Cindy. I'm the Tireless Tangler, and you've arrived at another day in our Zine Project based on this amazing book, Zentangle Dingbatz, Patterns and Projects for Dynamic Tangled Ornaments and Decorations. It's an awesome book. I very much recommend it, and go get it now. All right, so today's project is a continuation of the last 2 days. We're working on this section where we have the love word, and I am currently drawing in the pattern Scaraboo as we did in yesterday's video, as well as in the pattern step out video from Tuesday. If you're new to this channel, welcome. We are working on an amazing project, and this is a continuation of the last 2 days. So as I created this, I wanted to make these little wave parts more even, and had a little extra something there. That's all right though. My thought was to get this more standard in all of them because I tend to have something different in each one, and I still managed to do that, and again, that's okay. There are no mistakes in the Zentangle method, and although this is technically Zentangle inspired art, it's still awesome and you can still not make any mistakes. Although that is a concept I struggle with, we are not going to worry about mistakes today. So as I finish this, let me tell you a little bit about some of the things that I want to show you today. We are going to, I'm going to show you a variety or a couple of things. I'm going to be working with Gold Metallic Jelly Roll by Sakura of Japan, and also I'll be using the Sakura Moonlight in gold, or yellow, depending on how you look at it. And that is also a cool thing, so we'll talk more about that when we get there. Right now, I am adding the internal decorations and putting in some line weight. I'm going to be doing that a lot as we go forward in this video. This video is really about some explorations with some different things, and hopefully you guys will enjoy it. I've got a quick tutorial in this on blending solutions for colored pencils, and hopefully, I mean really quick, and hopefully you will find that helpful. So I'm going to continue here to add line weight. Now I did pre-record this and speed it up to 2 times speed, and it was an hour long, even with all of the things that I took out. It was quite long, so I went ahead and sped up the entire thing and did this as a voiceover so that it wouldn't be quite so tedious for you guys. Keep in mind that I go extremely slowly normally, and I normally don't speed up my videos, at least not anymore. Lesson learned. But this was just really long. Now, right now I'm using a Gold Metallic Jelly Roll that is a 0.8 nib size. Now Sakura has their own way of measuring nib size, and it is not standardized with other pens, so just use some caution with that. I am also going to frequently change the angle of the paper here because I want you guys to see what a difference the angle of the light makes. And I know a lot of you that use metallic or sparkle pens will know that depending on how the light hits it, you will see more or less. And my goal is to make this as dynamic as possible while still incorporating gold. Now, the problem with this is that while it looks pretty dynamic if you have it where you can see the gold, when you look at it in a different light, it can be the gold can make the ink from your Micron or whatever technical pen or other pen you're using, when you put gold or gel pen, when you put gel pen over ink, it's going to obscure the ink pretty much. And these gel pens from Sakura, these jelly roll pens, and this is again the jelly roll in gold metallic. Let it flow on. Use plenty of ink. Go over it. Just be careful because it flows on. The nib size is 0.8. So if you have a 0.8 in black, then you know that's a lot of ink. And this is really beautiful stuff to work on. I find that depending on the surface that you use, sometimes it helps to put a layer of white jelly roll down and then layer the gold over it, particularly on Zentangle tiles. The original Zentangle tiles are very, very porous, meaning that they will absorb a lot of ink. And so I frequently on black put down white jelly roll first and then go over that with gold. It gives it a nice surface to sit on and doesn't sink into the paper quite so much. Now the other thing that I have about using gold is that it de-emphasizes your lines. And if you can see here, there are several places, and I just changed the lights so that you could see those lines better. But you saw on that last piece where you really lose the line, particularly on this brown paper, and it's not as clean and dynamic, and you don't have quite the same effect. So what I'm doing here is taking my brown pen and going through and re-emphasizing all the lines I just went over with gold jelly roll. This is a layering process. I will also say about this that when you use your ink pen, these microns over jelly roll, keep a clean piece of paper or a scratch piece of paper available, and clean your nib off gently every now and then. You will see as I do this, my hand will disappear every now and then, and I am going off to the side and gently rubbing the nib along on all sides of the pen. I'm rotating the pen in my hand and rubbing each side of the nib off gently. I cannot stress the gently part enough, because this gel pen ink will gum up the tip, and you will ruin your nib on your micron. So make sure that you keep that nib cleaned off if you're going to do this step, and re-emphasize your lines as I'm doing here. Now, of course, gold on brown paper is going to be harder to see. However, I have found that whether you have the gold on, even on black, although that's not as much of a problem when you're using these gold jelly rolls, and I love drawing with these gold jelly rolls on black paper. It's an awesome experience. But again, if you're using Zentangle tiles, then I highly recommend, if it's something that you really care about, that you put down a layer of white and let it dry really well before you apply your gold, and you're going to get a completely different effect. It's going to brighten and really give you a nice effect. A little bit later, I'm going to show you what a difference that will make. Alright, so I'm really just going through here and touching up the lines, re-emphasizing them, making them more dynamic. I really have liked the effect of doing this with this tangle. This is, again, Scaraboo, and that is a Zentangle original pattern. And I really like the technique of emphasizing the lines, rounding, using line weight all the way around. I think it makes it much more dynamic and not quite. I think it makes it much more interesting anyway. So maybe that's just me. A lot of you have said you liked it, so I'm glad about that. And you will see me continue to move the paper around so that you're able to see what I've done so far. I want you to be aware of what a difference the gold makes, both positive and negative. And you may, and frequently, a good thing to use these for is if you want a very subtle background pattern, like, for example, if I wanted to add in something like tipple or printemps, although I wouldn't use this for tipple, it puts out too much ink for that. But if you were going to use printemps on something and you want it to sort of slide into the background, using this gold jelly roll on tan paper would be a great way to put in a subtle background without overwhelming the rest of it. So now I'm taking my chestnut Prismacolor and I am adding in some shading. Now here is where I'm going to show you about blending solutions. This is a paper stump. It's like a tortillon. It's rolled paper. And I'm going to use something called Gamsol. It's odorless mineral spirits. And it's used by oil painters for a number of things, blending and mixing paints and cleaning brushes and that kind of thing. So what I'm using this for here is we are going to dissolve, using this Gamsol, we are going to dissolve the wax binding agent in the Prismacolor pencils. Okay, so I'm going to use two pencils today. One is in the color of pomegranate, and these are Prismacolor Premiers, not Verithins. And this is a really rich sort of magenta red. And the first thing you should know about colored pencils is that the light, the way to affect it lightly is by lightening your touch. If you want a light version of a color, then lighten your touch. Then medium touch for a medium blend. And if you want something really intense, then you want to increase your pressure until you get something nice and rich and thick. Now, Prismacolors are really good for blending. They are, in my opinion, one of the richest pigmented colored pencils that you can buy. I did not realize what amazing colored pencils they actually were until I experimented with blending solution, and I think even though these are fairly muted colors, I think you'll be able to see why. Now, before I get started, I wanted to show you, this is a colorless blender pencil, and you frequently get these with colored pencils, and this one happens to be by Prismacolor. I wanted to show you that this will work for blending fairly well. Now, if you have gone really strong on your strokes, it can be hard to remove those from the way it looks, meaning that you don't really get a completely smooth blend because the pencil strokes show through. Now, with the blending solution, or the odorless mineral spirits, and Gamsol is a brand that you will find in the U.S. I know that they have this in other places, though, so it's just probably called something different. So when you coat the tip of your tortillon or paper stump in this mineral solution and gently go over your pencil marks, what happens is these pencils use a wax binding agent, which means that the color or pigment in them is bound together into a form that can be put into a pencil by using wax, and that is one of the reasons why Prismacolors go on so rich and smooth. So I did not realize how richly pigmented they were until I experimented with this stuff, and it's pretty cool. So check this out. This was chestnut brown that I just did. This is the pomegranate red. And you can see that although we saw some of this color before, when you get the blending solution on there, it really, really comes to life. Now, the benefit of this solution is that by removing the wax, you remove the buildup, which means that you can layer colors really well. Okay, so if I put the pomegranate over the chestnut brown and put a good coat on there and fade it out here lightly, then use the paper stump with blending solution on it, and you can see now I've got a completely new, rich sort of blend there with the chestnut brown and the pomegranate red. Now, this is just for example, and I have many, many color combinations that I adore, but this one works. So there, if you have Prismacolors and you have the complete set, you might check for, let's see if I can remember my two favorite Prismacolors for pigment are the Indian Throne Blue, which comes out so rich with blending solution, and there's a purple called, it's one of the, I'll think of it here in a minute. Okay. So back here, I have already gone over this with blending solution one time, and I wanted to show you that then if that will blend and dissolve. It does not leave a stain. You can use it on any paper surface and it will not stain, which is one of the beautiful things. You do have to be careful though. Your tortillon or paper stump will pick up the pigment and you'll have to be careful. Now again, another thing here is the layering. You can put pencil over this and blend it out and it works fine because again, it's not sitting on that wax. The blending solution will work with other pencil types. It'll work with any pencil type. Just expect a different effect depending on the brand of pencil that you use and how pigmented it is. But even with Crayola, you can use this. Even with crayons, you can use this, and it will leave the pigment and dissolve the wax, which is cool. Might take several bottles of that, though. So now I am blending out the pencil that I used. I really wanted to give this a deep shadow here, or a little bit of depth. And I think that's going to need another blending. Depending on where the light is, you really see the shine of the graphite, and depending on how I have the lamp set for filming, I get a lot of shine, and it makes it hard for me to see what I'm doing. And so then when I shift it to where y'all can see, anyway. All right. But I do like the effect of the pencil with the colored pencil. So now I'm going to take this blending stump and just gently go over. And notice I did not add any pencil to this. Oh wait, I did add pencil to this. But as soon as that evaporates, as soon as the solution evaporates, it's going to be great. And here I have not added pencil. I'm just using the extra pigment that is on this paper stump, and you'll see me turning that, rotating it in my fingers so that I can get the pigment from all sides to come down. I don't think I got much there. We'll see when it dries. I think I'm about out there. So I'm just putting in a slight hint of color here to sort of give some, I don't know, some depth to that. My problem with the gold jelly roll is that I really feel it detracts from the line art, and so I don't tend to use them much. I think we've done a great job in here. I'm really pleased with this. Practice things on the back of the page, and before you practice on the back of the page, make sure it's not going to go through to the other side, okay? That's a good thing about all of these Sakura pens, is none of them will bleed through normally. So that is where we're at. I'm going to add some white colored pencil. This is a white Prismacolor. White Prismacolors tend to be the favorite for this. You, of course, can use the whatever brand you have, but the Prismacolors tend to be more opaque, or they are better for covering and standing out. So even artists that prefer a different brand will keep white Prismacolors on hand for this kind of thing. That is a pencil they really got right. And you can blend with the white as well with the solution, although in this instance I choose not to. I sort of like the rougher look for what I'm doing here. Now again, if you try to go over even more so, going over colored pencil with your ink pen is very hard on the nib of your pen. Make sure you clean it gently each and every time. It's even worse than going over the gold jelly roll. Be gentle with your pens, and they will love you back. So I think I'm going to add some more white here to really pop the center out and this extra sort of little decoration. And we're going to see how that turns out. Because again, I'm a big fan of white on tan. And this should be your probably next to last step. Again, almost all art has an ugly stage, and you have to work on it. And this type of thing takes layers. And so be patient with yourself. Don't give up on it. This is a jelly roll, but it is, and also by Sakura of Japan, but it is in their Stardust collection. This is different, and I don't know how well you can see that over there. This is different from the metallic gold jelly roll. The Stardust collection, or I think they have some that are Meteor, and anyway, if it's in the space, it's one of these pens. These pens are different from other glitter pens in that they do not have glitter put into the ink. What Sakura uses is ground glass in their ink for these pens, and that really makes the sparkle beautiful, because with regular glitter pens, frequently, not only do they not flow on really well, and these flow on so beautifully, but also, and they're not scritchy at all. That's my technical term. But these pens shine like no other. They catch the light like no other. And so and of course it's ground very, very fine, so it's not going to hurt anybody. But I think that's a really cool thing that I did not know. And I have tried a lot of gel pens, a whole lot of brands, a whole lot of glitter pens, because I'm just like most people out there. I love sparkly stuff. It just fascinates me. The bottom line, though, is if you use them too much, you lose the effect of your lines, I feel like. And that's just my personal opinion. The other thing you can do with both the with either type, is you can use your water brush, your aqua brush, on them and spread the pigment out just a little bit. And you can have a sheen all over something without the lines, if that's what you wish. You can also load the paper with the ink, the gold ink, and then use your water brush in that and gently wash that over everything. And you would have just a hint of a sparkle on there. It'd be very understated, but I have done that. Now, the reason I'm going over my lines with this Stardust pen, with this glitter pen, is that the glitter pens tend to keep their shine. They have a little bit of a thicker shine. There's a little bit of roughness to the ink, so that they glitter really pretty. And this particular pen, whether it's yellow or gold, I don't know, but it really lends the gold color a hint of yellow, which makes it more vibrant, I think. It's much more sparkly. And that's a basic difference between metallic pens and glitter pens. Now we're getting into deep stuff here. I'm just going to go over a couple of these lines with it. And we have something cool when the light shines on it. You know, when I started on this side, I did this on 2 different days. And the first day, I just kind of gave up on it because it was just kind of sappy. It did not turn out very well for me. It was kind of weak. And so I want you guys to not give up on them, because if you go back in and work them with your pen, add your line weight, rounding, any other tangle enhancers you can think of, use your jelly rolls, whatever occurs to you that you think might work. And I think you'll really be pleased with what turns out. I'm once again going over the metallic gold because, let's face it, who doesn't like extra sparkle? And I wish you could see this in real time or real space like I do, because it's so much more fun color-wise and sparkle-wise and ink-wise in person. But you can probably tell there's quite a bit of difference. And so I love adding that sparkle on top, which really pops everything out. And I'm almost never satisfied. I love stroking these pens, how rich the ink is when it comes out. I'm a little bit in love. I've tried a lot of gel pens. That's all I'm going to say. A lot. And they are worth the few extra bucks that they cost. in lack of frustration alone. Uniball Signo also has very, very good quality in gel pens, but other than their white, I haven't tried them out, so I really can't speak to that. Their white gel pens are very nice. I find that jelly rolls work a little bit better on gems for me, but everyone has a different opinion, so I tend to go with the white jelly rolls. Plus, I find them a tiny bit smoother to draw with on black when you're tangling with them. So that's just my 2 cents. Your experience may be different. Drop me a comment and let me know what you think. So if you can tell, I really went thick with the ink on this. And I'm going to show you one last thing here. And that is going over this white jelly roll, what a difference that is going to make when I go over it. And I've decided to, instead of using the metallic gold, I'm just going to go straight on with the Stardust pen. And in editing, this looks extremely yellow. It is not that yellow in reality, but that is something to think about. If you're working on a darker paper and you have something that you would like to stand out, like, for example, if you wanted to use a glitter pen of another color, say a dark blue, and you're working on black, you can use this technique to make them shine on the black. It would be like having a glitter moonlight pen, if that makes sense. Sakura makes another line of jelly rolls for working on black that do a really good job. They are also really nice to work with because normally they flow very well. They are also nib size 0.8s, the Sakura version of 0.8. I'm trying to think what other comments I have gotten lately. Guys, I really, really appreciate you. I want you to know I really appreciate you. I know I am not holding my up my end of this, but let me get the kid started in school, and hopefully things with my brain will start working better. All right. And you may have to let it dry and go over it again. But look what a difference that is than just the gold alone. Okay. That is where I'm going to leave it. I may or may not add a bit. Apparently I am going to add a bit. I'm using my sepia pen. That business at a minute ago was me trying to figure out if it was black or sepia. And yeah. So what I'm doing now is redefining some of my darker lines, and I'm going with a darker color so that I can get a little bit more definition. These are all very heavily worked with a variety of ink, and so I don't want to lose the definition, so to speak, of what we were doing. I think I'm in pretty good shape, but there are some edges that could really use touching up. And again, if you're using this over jelly roll, you really want to clean your nib on a regular basis. That's what I'm doing right now, as I am going over a really heavy area here. There we are. All right. That is our project for this week. It seems to me that we are going to have a couple more weeks now, and then we will get started on something for the holidays about mid-September. I will tell you now that you should go ahead and invest in some decent cardstock, because we're going to be using that as well as pens. And if you happen to be deciding on a color, keep in mind that that will make a difference on the ink that you use, okay? So I'm really looking forward to that. And I like how this turned out. I hope you guys do too. And I'm going to see you on Monday.